Good morning. Happy Thursday? Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Lord, time flies when you're having fun. It was recommended to me that I watch Blind Justice getting arrested. And so I went to Blind Justice's channel and I saw his wife talking about how, I watched a few minutes of his wife talking about how Blind Justice was arrested on the courthouse steps for failure to appear because the court wouldn't grant him an accommodation, I guess is the way she phrased it, or something along those lines, for his disability. Well, the problem with that is that any accommodation has to be reasonable. You have to make reasonable accommodations. So yeah, but anyway, she wasn't showing the actual video. So I scouted around and I found Carolina Auditor showed a video. He live streamed it. And watching the video, I was reminded of a science experiment that I did back in, I think, 7th grade, where we took a couple nails of different metals and we stuck the two nails into the potato, and it created an electrical current, a very weak electrical current. And so watching those guys, it reminded me of a big old potato salad. But anyway, the clown show started when they approached, and like at least all the courts I'm familiar with, apparently the courts in North Carolina have have orders in place, sometimes descending all the way down from the Supreme Court of the state, or maybe it's a local order. But there is an order from a judge who has the power and authority to make that order, limiting the persons allowed in the building to those people who have actual business there, i.e. plaintiffs, defendants, petitioners, respondents, parties in interest, witnesses, maybe people who have to go file. I don't know. A lot of places in California are doing online filing only. So I don't know exactly how they're doing it in North Carolina. But anyway, that is a valid kind of order to make. Now, I disagree with that order. Personally, I think that the COVID crisis is way overblown, and that the real danger presented by coronavirus is being blown way out of proportion in an attempt to control the United States population and to get us used to our liberties being stripped away. But that's just my opinion, and your mileage may vary. However, the courts have the power to make the orders necessary to achieve justice. Now, what Carolina Auditor, what Blind Justice was pointing out was that in the North Carolina Constitution, there is a requirement that courts be open. And that requirement, I'm going to assume, like every other requirement that trials be open, comes with an asterisk by it. Just like, you know, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. The freedom of speech shall not be infringed. Just like all of those have little asterisks by them, the open trial also has an asterisk by it. The courts can make whatever orders they need to make to achieve justice, and sometimes that involves clearing courtrooms. They've done that in the past. It is, to the best of my knowledge, countrywide, that courts, when they're dealing with juvenile criminal matters and other, juvenile matters that, I think juvenile matters in general, where the actual party is a juvenile, are generally done closed court because they don't want to taint that child's future with what the child has done in the present. And that's in the interest of justice. You don't want to be, if you're 15 and you make a mistake, you don't want to be known for the rest of your life as, a felon or what have you. So that's why the courts do that. Or, if the crowd is getting raucous, the court can clear the courtroom and continue the trial in a closed courtroom. That happens. It is part of the judicial power. Now, you say, well, the courts can't make laws. They could just issue orders, and that is correct. But those orders have power, both in the United States Constitution, Article 3 of the United States Constitution. Article 3, Section 1 vests the judicial power of the United States in the Article 3 courts. And North Carolina, I think it's Article 4 of their Constitution, again, vests the judicial power of the state in the courts. And there's a reason why they use the word power. I mean, they actually have the power to issue orders. An order is within the power of the judiciary. And they can issue the orders required to achieve justice. And if they are required to order that only necessary persons enter a court so that they can actually administer justice, maybe they're looking at it that they have two options. Either they can close the courthouse down completely, and that way nobody gets justice, or they can open it for those persons who have actual business in the court, and those persons can get justice. Maybe not in an open trial, but at least they can get justice. So hopefully you can understand that the courts do have judicial power. That power includes issuing orders necessary to achieve justice. And finally, it made me laugh. I had to stop the video at the point where Blind Justice starts pontificating on treason. He told the sergeant that was stopping the crowd from entering. By the way, apparently his ADA reasonable accommodation that he was requesting was to have all of his friends go into the trial with him, which is unreasonable. And then he passed around a note with the chief judge's name and phone number. Be careful with that, because if you're trying to influence a judge to influence the outcome of a case or something like that, that could get you into trouble. So always proceed with that with a bit of caution. But these guys don't know caution, and they don't know the law, because anyway, the guy was stopping him, the sergeant was stopping him from going in as a group. He said, only official business. Blind Justice says you're committing treason. And then Blind Justice says, that's what I don't get. You tell these guys are committing treason and they just roll their eyes. A blind man knew that the sergeant rolled his eyes, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, they just roll their eyes. It's like they don't understand. There's a lot of statutes and codes on treason. And that's where I had to stop, because there is not a statute on treason as far as the United States is concerned. Treason is, again, in Article 3 of the Constitution, Article 3, Section 3. And treason is defined. There's no crime of treason other than, I think it's levying war against the states and something about giving aid to the enemies. I forget exactly how it's written, but levying war against the United States and giving aid to the enemies. And you're going to say, well, if someone's not upholding their oath of office, then they're an enemy of the state. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. You know, you can commit misdemeanors and felonies and a lot of worse things and still not be an enemy of the state. There's a difference between being a criminal and being an enemy of the state. They're looking at like crimes of sedition, where you actually wage war against the state, or where you give aid to those people who are waging war against the state, like enemy combatants, things like that. That's what they're contemplating in treason. And then you're going to say, well, you know, John, you're just a first-year family law attorney. Maybe you don't know what North Carolina's statutes and codes are. And to that, I would say, well, again, North Carolina has also defined treason in their constitution, specifically as waging war against the state of North Carolina or giving aid to the enemies of the state of North Carolina. So Blind Justice clearly has no idea what he's talking about. And speaking of oaths of office, there is this common misconception that just because someone has an oath of office and they've been required to file that oath of office with the clerk of the county or whatever, that doesn't mean that they have to present it to you upon demand. You have prima facie evidence that a judge has the right to be a judge when you walk into a courtroom and the judge is sitting there in the judge's chair behind the judge's podium or whatever, with a gavel in his hand, and a bailiff who is enforcing the orders of that judge. That is your prima facie evidence that that judge has the right to be there doing what he's doing. If, for whatever reason, the judge does not have the right to be there doing what he was doing, then the Chief Justice would take note of it, and any orders or decisions that that judge who is disqualified would make will most likely be overturned or be deemed invalid. So just because they have to sign an oath of office doesn't mean they have to present it to you on demand. I had to sign my driver's license. I don't have to present it to you on demand. There is a law saying I have to present it to a police officer if he pulls me over, but I don't have to present it to you on demand. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, that's my time for today. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.